What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Propping Up. I'm GriffeyBets, joined by WallaBets. How we doing, Walla?
All right. Happy to be doing the show, sponsored by Pickett. Gold Boys is letting us talk, which is amazing. They're trusting us. Hopefully we're doing all right for you guys, giving you some good information. But huge shout out to Gold Boys and Pickett for letting us do this. It's been
For
fun.
sure. Pickett is a bet tracking app. If you're not familiar, connects right to your sports book, so you can keep track of how you're doing, and also track how your friends are betting and what they're betting on. A nice platform, especially as who knows what's going on with Twitter. So Pickett might be on the rise here even more to get in there as a social platform. So great app. Thank you to Pickett.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. I mean, it's been a pretty solid week so far. I don't know about you, but I've been in the green both nights, which is always going to work for me. How has your first 2 days gone since we last chatted?
It's been all right. Last night, I played Tatar Point, and that was like the last one I threw in. It seems like these ones that I've been liking all day, and then towards the end of the day, I'm like, all right, I will play it. I should just not do it. Apparently, I think he had a goal, got called back. Um, I don't know what the deal is. I think it paid out a couple places, but they might have been sleeping on what actually happened. I don't know, but he had a goal, got called back, so that brought my night down. Still positive, but hurt a little bit.
I know I had Heisher as a flagged point prop as well, so that was a bummer to see that called back.
Yeah, the assist.
All Tuesday though, a couple hooks out there. Surprised Kaprizov couldn't get a fourth with some of those big games from Minnesota. Matt Boldy had 5 in the first. Um, but yeah, all good. I think Jack Eichel needs to go on the sideline for me. I just can't. No matter how I bet his goal or his shots or I put him in a parlay, somehow me and Jack Eichel aren't getting along. So I'm gonna say goodbye to him for a couple weeks, maybe just all of Vegas. Because that was a bummer. I paired him with Jack Hughes, who obviously smashed, but for not.
Yeah, and he scored too. Eichel scored, so it seemed like all right.
And I
Things were
have done
going.
those Jack squared goal parlays before because they just stick out because their names are Jack. A lot of
That
science.
wasn't it.
Oh
Uh,
well.
yeah, small slate though. 3 games, 3 nice games, I think. Anyway, uh, there's a lot of options here, and just look like entertaining games in general. So uh, I don't know where you want to start. You seem to have like uh, honed honed in on a few things here. So if you want to kick it off.
Yeah, I think we should just go in order. Start with Buffalo and Ottawa. Definitely a juicy game. I'd say, especially on the Ottawa side, with Buffalo on a back-to-back and letting up way more shots on the road and goals too. I believe I have to bring up those numbers on my other monitor. And Ottawa just seems to dominate shots at home. They're both tighter to shots allowed and they're shooting like crazy as a team. Not to we'll get to it later, but as the Pickett play of the day, but Tim Stutzel obviously stood out immediately for both of us. I think that's going to be a pretty popular play today. Um, over in what is it, 5 of his last 6, 4
Yep.
straight at home. Yep. Um, what's not to like there? The odds are down to minus 108, but we got him in at plus 104 this morning. Was there any hesitation there at all? Because I saw that. I'm like, yes, please, let's go right back to you.
No, not really. If you're just looking at his volume lately, you could see the attempts going up. You could see his minutes are up. So there's a lot to like from looking at where, the beginning of the season. I think he had, if I'm if I'm remembering correctly, he did have 2 shots against Buffalo. I think it was 2-on-2 or something like that. So with the increased volume and just the bigger role he's been having these past few games, I think he can get that third shot, and getting it at plus money. We've been talking about it is it's just nice. A lot of these props open up and they're pretty juiced. So seeing a plus money prop this morning for a guy who's 5 of his last 6 and just seeing way more production is great.
For sure. Yeah, we've got Eli on the back end showing his chart. I don't know if we'll be able to show his actual attempts, but it is just a tale of two halves here. His attempts, I mean, he was mostly getting 2 attempts every game until the beginning of November. I don't know if there was a line shift or just a philosophy change from the coaches or what, but ever since he's, pretty much shooting 5, 6 or more times a game. So
They
that's
did, I think, shift some lines around. I think Batherson's down to the third line now. So there has been some stuff moving around there. And, this past few games, he's been taking advantage of the extra minutes and stuff. So that's the one that really stuck out at that plus money price.
for sure. And Senators are scoring nearly 4 a game at home. So I think it's a good game to look for goals and points. I did sprinkle half a unit on Stutzel's score as well. He's got 4 in his last 6 games. As long as this volume continues, why not? And he seems to be having this nice pattern of scoring every other game. And he took last game off, so seems like a sure thing that he'll find the back of the net tonight.
Yeah, he when he gets his chances, he's been a really good player. So it's nice to see that. And it's good to see that we both were liking that right away. Always like that. Just some boost of confidence there. We're seeing it the same way. And in this game, I think there's definitely some opportunity here. If you look at Kachuk, he's been firing away lately. He's got a ton of volume. He hasn't scored in a while, which I know you were kind of looking at that. So I'm thinking you're thinking he's going to get one tonight, maybe, or hoping he gets one tonight. But his volume is there. I think his 5+ shots recently, Brady Kachuk. So that's another look in this game. I think it's a little juiced as 3.5 line, but FanDuel might open up a that alt line, and that would be a way to look.
I would hope they do with only 3 games. That would be super lame if they don't. But they've been very random lately. Yeah, the fact he doesn't have 4 in any of these games that he's hitting. It's 5 or more, and he's got 6 in all 3 home games. Had 5 against Buffalo to start the year. And if you go back to last year, his last 3 games against Buffalo, he's got 12, 7, and 5 shots. I think him at 5 should open probably around the plus, I don't know, 170-ish range. I think that's a solid standalone bet. Maybe even sprinkle on 6. I do like him to score, as you can see here with this attempt chart. He hasn't scored since October 29th, which is 7 games back on that chart. And you can just see that rise. The way my finger going is opposite of the chart. Too confusing, but it's crazy with that number of attempts that he hasn't found the back of the net, because he's obviously one of the most talented guys out there. Especially Buffalo with a backup goalie tonight. I think this is a great spot to look for points and goals, really all over the place.
Yeah, and if he's gonna score, another guy on that same team who's been involved in a lot of scoring, whether it's goals or assists, is Giroux. Tons of points. It's a juiced play, so that would be something. If you're going with the point, you would need to probably include it with something else. But he's been producing so well. I think, just all those things coming together, they could have a good game tonight.
Yeah, Giroux's got 6, 8, 10, 12 points in his last 9 games. Granted, he was on a different team last year, but he had 2 points in all 3 games against Buffalo last season. I think every reason he stays involved. He's got a point on the power play in 4 straight, and Buffalo's got one of the worst penalty kills. And you had a nice theory before we went live that, maybe the Sabres are committing, bottom half of the league type penalty numbers, but on a back-to-back, maybe they're a little tired, a little sloppy. And Ottawa's power play has been working out last couple games.
Yeah, could be a look. If you have those same game parlay options available to you on one of your books, yeah, you could look at some correlation there. Drew point, Kachuk goal, or you can do just a couple of guys to get some points, some guys to go over on some shots here. Could be a good game for that. I've been experimenting with those same game parlays, and it's really just, if you like a game script, you kind of just lean into it and use a smaller unit size. But I've been coming close with some yesterday too, and this would probably be a game that I would look at here. I think there's a couple guys, so I might try to come up with some little same game parlay here using Kachuk and Giroux and some of these guys' shots too.
I did see Batherson move down to the third line. It's tough to know. I mean, that could easily be a positive impact for a guy who already has been shooting pretty well. Now, not on a line with the Brinket. Maybe he's tasked with shooting a little bit more. Ottawa looks good across the board, I would say. I think on the other side, Buffalo, I don't know about you, but we talked about it Monday. Ottawa's just much tighter to shots at home. It's kind of remarkable. Tage is the steadiest guy, but he hasn't gone over against Ottawa in a couple games now. I don't know. Just the fact of letting up 10 less at home is enough for me to sit this one out on the Buffalo end.
Yeah, there's been better times to target the Buffalo guys. Last night they got shots up. I don't know. I just, on the back-to-back, a lot of them I think have better home numbers anyway. So there have been steady guys there, steady guys producing. I think I like the other side a little bit more in this one.
I will note that I needed Darlene last night to wrap up a 3-leg goal parlay, and he did score against Ottawa in the season opener. So knowing how those things tend to work, he'll probably score tonight. Not scientific, but that seems to happen.
It feels that way, though. It really does always feel that way.
Yeah, it was again, to highlight Ao, who's in Gold Boys. He was high on John Marino over the weekend, the Devils defenseman. He bet him on whenever they played Saturday, the game you were at, and of course he scores an empty netter last night. I think Ao sprinkled behind the scenes to ease the pain, but still, that's just how it seems to go. Some of these guys.
Yeah, I think that actually can lead into the next game, right? With the St. Louis. I was looking at O'Reilly last game. I put a little bit on his goal. I talked about him on the show, his shots, his point, his goal, and I put a little bit on his goal, and then he hits his shots, gets a point, but doesn't score. So, knowing how poetic things are, maybe he keeps it rolling tonight and scores this time. But he's looked great. I know you were looking at him today.
Yeah, I think Chicago's always a good target. Doesn't really matter where they are, home or away. I'm surprised you're not jumping on O'Reilly, given your love and him coming through, but him on the road has been really steady.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Plus money on the road looks real nice.
Yeah, he was plus 120 this morning is where I got him. I'm seeing plus 110 now, but 5 of his last 6 on the road, he's gone over. And while he hasn't been as involved on the power play this year as years past, those opportunities should come against the Blackhawks. And I'm just following that road chart, to be honest. That he's not shooting like crazy, but he's been pretty efficient, and it's a good target.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When you're looking for something to play straight and you see that plus money and a guy, you could find something that looks good. That's always appealing, that road chart. Because then you got another guy who looks good is Carew, but he's just so juiced, and I think even he's still getting shots, but like his minutes went down a bit. So seeing a juice price for somebody like that, it's tough to swallow. So when you see O'Reilly there at that plus money, draws you. Oh, okay. Yep, there's his away game chart. Really nice. I do like it. Yeah, I think he's a guy who could step up at any moment. Such a big veteran player, so should be able to take advantage of this spot on the road.
I do think Carew could have some value with an alt line opening up. If we can bring up Jordan Carew's chart, he's got 4+ in 4 of his last 5 on the road flying over. I mean, it's putting itself together, but a little Carew Kachuk to start.
Oh, that could be interesting for the lotto play. Bump them up some shots, get that plus money.
I would be pretty surprised if we don't get a full menu of alts tonight, but we'll see. I think that's solid. I mean, Chicago does give up a ton of power play opportunities. Carew is second on the team in power play shots, even though he's on the second line. And the fact that they hand out so many, 6th most, that second line should be getting plenty of burn as well.
Yeah, I do like that. I like that look. So, with how juiced it is, that's a really good point there. Bump, maybe go up to that next line. He's been hitting over the 3 line anyway. So
it is crazy that Carew to start the year was like plus 130 to go over his shots, and now we're watching him graduate to minus 160. Is good for him, I guess, but a bummer for us.
Yeah. Yeah, and somebody in the chat asked, saying, don't strictly go off of props like cash. Nah, this is props like cash is a way to really find spots that stand out. We use it as a a kind of jumping off point. Never want to just take a last 10 hit rate and only run with that. So it's a really good way to find a jumping off point, and then you can dig into the underlying stats such as minutes, attempts, power play time on ice, stuff like that, to find things that you like. And also, when we're talking about lottos here, you got to keep it in mind too. Those are going to be long shots anyway. So when we're talking about a lotto, we're bumping a guy up to a higher line, plus money. We're taking risks on those. So that's something that you would use a smaller unit size on anyway. But no, never just look at a hit rate chart and base it solely on that. It's definitely a way to find targets, and like I said, it's a starting point for research.
It's funny you say it as a starting point. It definitely can be, but for me, it's kind of the finish line. I think context is obviously important when a guy is going over. You can't just look blindly and be like, well, he keeps going over, he'll do it again. But personally, I like to use StatMuse to get shots allowed in locations, circle power play opportunities, use natural stat trick to get, usage stats, like how often a guy is shooting on the power play. Put all that together, circle some spots. That's when I hop in props.cash and, for example, circling Ottawa shots, be like, okay, no, I like Ottawa for shots tonight. Let's see who's been steady. So I use it as a finish line. And it's always fun when you have a spot circled like a center against a certain position, and then you click into a couple of the team centers and bang, you get smacked in the face by green. Context is important, but it's a great tool it can start your research, but it also can give you that final jolt of confidence and just speed up your process time. Going manually through box scores.
And that's what, in gambling in itself, everybody's going to have their different methods, and that you can see it right there. I said sometimes use that jumping off point, and he uses it, sometimes at the end, and everybody's process is going to be different. I don't think there's any right or wrong way necessarily. It's just about looking at the data, putting everything together, and, putting your bet on something that you're confident enough in based on all of that. So culmination of things, but yeah, that was a nice little side chat there.
On the flip side of this game, I think plenty of Blues guys looks good, but I think Chicago is worth a look also, because St. Louis just gets peppered on the road, over 37 shots allowed when they're the visitors. And I am taking the plunge on Jonathan Toews again. Mostly, St. Louis to centers has been a little bit more generous to some other positions. When I see Toews, he broke my heart getting 0 shots against the Ducks after getting 6. And then if we haven't mentioned it much yet, you're going to hear it plenty. You got to trust the bounce back. I didn't, but I think against Carolina, that's excusable. I need Jonathan Taze again against the Hurricanes on a packed slate, but he put up 5 shots last game. And that's now, he's over in 3 of 4 at home. And this is a team that lets up a lot of shots. So I am taking the plunge at plus 130. He's gotten 5 attempts in 3 of his last 4. He's been very efficient the last 2 games across the board. He had 6 attempts and he had 6 shots. Against the Ducks, he had 0 attempts, if you believe it, for 0 shots. And then Hurricanes 5 for 5. So he's out there. He's out there on the power play. I do think both teams should be letting up shots tonight at those odds. I'm taking the plunge again, and I bet him to score because he's scored in 4 of his last 5 at home. With that volume, why not?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit braver than I am, I think. No, but it's a decent spot. I can't really argue against the points you made. He's hit a couple times, has some goals there, and this was definitely a better target than last game. And he put up some numbers last game. I was just so, like you said, just so hurt. It was the Ducks, man. 0 shots against the Ducks. That was just one hurt.
I do. So on Gold Boys, there's all sorts of fun stuff we put there. That we keep in the Discord for the community. One being those points prop sheets that we started yesterday. We'll go in and out on Twitter, but every day are on there. One of the names I did flag is Taze for a point I found interesting. Almost reasonable at a straight play at minus 125. He's got one in 9 of 14 games, 5 of 7 at home. And against, St. Louis letting up over 3 per game on the road. And the Blackhawks have actually had some success scoring, more than I thought when I bet their points under for the entire season. Been a little bit more competitive than I was anticipating. And Tay's been a big reason why. So I found that an interesting one. He had a point the last time they hosted the Blues. So it was minus 125 this morning, which I found pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I think those prices for a point are nice, especially when there's a guy who's obviously producing pretty well. In that same kind of topic on the other side, Robert Thomas is minus 135 for a point, and it's not as consistent when you look at his chart. It's a bit choppy, but just nice target. Should have power play chances. He's got a couple points on the power play recently. So he's a guy who can really, make some plays. He gets a lot of assists, but he did have a nice breakaway goal last game. So minus 135, that was one. If you're into betting points, that kind of jumped out on the blue side. Pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone bet Robert Thomas points more than you last year.
He was rolling for a bit, and it was the assists too, and they were just at plus money. He was just dishing them out. Every time I bet him, I use the Matchbox 20, the smooth Robert Thomas song. He's great out there, and if he can get on a run, he tends to have a pretty decent price on some things. So
speaking of, he does have 2 power play points in his last 3 games against a very bad penalty kill unit and a team that likes to give up power play chances.
What's it at?
It's at plus 300. I think he's on the second line because Carew and Buchnevich also have a power play point in 2 of their last 3. So I'm thinking it was that trio has combined for the last couple, which is interesting because they're not on the first line. But
I'll have to dig into that. Yeah, but dang, I don't know. Just shows that it's multiple ways to get a point. Not just on the 5-on-5. He's been clicking on the power play a bit. So that's nice.
Was there anything else from this game?
No, I'm looking forward to the last game.
Oh yeah,
Oilers and Kings has a great matchup in the playoffs. And it gives you a large sample size to work with on some of these guys, so you could see some pretty crazy trends. They were, last year and the postseason. So maybe that you look at it differently. But I mean, there's just a lot of positive numbers behind guys in this series. I mean, Kempe, his shots lines at 2.5, and he's hit that. What was it, at all but one or against them last season? Pretty close to that. Um,
So
McDavid has 2 points in a bunch of games against the Kings. There's just a lot of positive trends in this matchup.
what is for people who just like betting on the totals and not relying on a guy? I'm surprised this total's at 6.5 and not 7. To be honest, we got two teams that get penalized a ton and are both letting up a lot of shots and goals in their location and overall. I could certainly see this being a high scoring, like I don't know, 4-3 at the minimum, but I could see it being like a 5-4 type game here. Could be a fun one to dabble with some, if Caesars brings back those same game parlay of shots, or if you have bet 365, or just maybe parlay a couple guys to score. Could be a fun one if you like staying up for the late games.
Yeah. I was mentioning it just in a chat earlier too. I don't know how much weight to put in it, but he's been hot right now. They lost Kane for a while. He's been heating up with shots and stuff. And last postseason, I think he was dealing with some injury, and he didn't. This series against the Kings, he was going up against Deneau, and Deneau was like schooling him all series, and they were talking about it so much on the broadcast and things like that. And he's hot lately. Maybe he comes in and remembers just some of that, and he's feeling good. But he's got some nice looking props. Draisaitl lately.
Yeah, really reasonable price. Basically even money for guy hitting most of the time. He's second on the team in power play shots. That is solid. I was trying to find that inflection point of Kane going out and who's been impacted either positively or negatively. Yeah, Draisaitl's attempts are up a bit, not crazy, but he's just hitting more.
Yeah, I was looking at that. It didn't seem volume wise to change much, but positive regression on the accuracy there. Getting more on net.
I found it interesting. I mean, I'm kind of assuming in some ways there could be a lot of other factors for people who are more intimately attached to this team, but Hyman's attempts way down since Kane got hurt. He was getting 10 attempts off in a lot of those games there, and he hasn't shot the puck more than 4 times in 5 straight games. He's still got a 3.5 line, which is really hard to get when you're only shooting 4 times. So someone braver than me could go for a Hyman under. Not the game for me to do that, but I just find that interesting.
His volume. You'd think it maybe would have came back a little bit.
I don't know. I don't have the full story there, but he was rolling for a while, and that's kind of fizzled out at some point. You have to imagine it comes clawing back, but I'm not going to try and guess when that happens.
Yeah. And something I want to touch on, because you brought it up a little bit earlier about bounce backs. And I know one of the looks that's catching my eye in this game is actually a guy who let you down last game, Fiala, his shots. So I think he got the 2 shots on goal last game. He needed the 3. You were looking at him because his volume had been up a little bit. So last game, it was disappointing to see that, not come through. But I was just looking, and he didn't get too many minutes on the power play and stuff. And he leads the Kings in power play shots, and Edmonton leads the league in the power play opportunities allowed. So I just think it's a good spot for him after getting 2 shots last game, 2 shots on goal. I think this is a good spot to maybe get that extra attempt or 2 needed to get that 3rd shot on goal, because the power play opportunities allowed, he should get his chances. He leads the team. So I'm thinking I'm gonna I didn't play him last game, but it's just the bounce back theory, and looks like a spot where he can step up here. I think they're going to be on that power play. and he has a 17, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's got 17 total. I track 5-on-4 power play shots. I don't know why. Yeah, he has 16 on 5-and-4. I think he got an extra one on a 5-on-3. I don't know why I track it like that, but yeah, he's right there with Kaliev, who we never get a shot prop for, even though he scored twice last game.
Of course.
Yeah, and Edmonton not just most power play opportunities, but I've also started looking at power play shots allowed. Like shots allowed when you're on the PK, and they're allowing 6.4 shots per game on power play, which is third most, which just another metric I'm bringing into the fold. So they're certainly handing them out and then, letting people get shots off.
Yeah, that makes me really like that spot. I think it was minus 110 or something, right?
Now, the only thing about Fiala was he just hasn't hit on the road.
Oh yeah, he did have the home trend going there for a bit.
He's gone over twice on the road this year in 9 tries, but he's getting 2 basically every time. So if you like going on the safer route, a Fiala 2 could be a nice parlay leg to bring down the juice on something else you like. It doesn't have to always be you going for gold with a massive lottery. Those 2+ shots are also available.
Yeah, bring down the juice on some other play that you like. But yeah, no, there is that road trend there. These Oilers games, they've just been great targets recently. Stacking guys for shots. So
they have. And to stick with LA, I am going to my old friend Anze Kopitar.
That's a ball.
I don't think anyone else is really going to be on him, to be honest. If anyone wants to join the ride with me, there's a hint of sentimentality of this play, because Kopitar in that 7-game series against Edmonton last year, as you can now see, he was just a cash cow for us. This guy was they would keep opening at plus 120. This was my alarm. Be like, I have to wake up and get Kopitar in immediately without any thought. And he just kept delivering. Big reason why was, how many power plays Edmonton gave up last year, and just like they're doing again this year. And he is far less consistent this year. So I'd like to put that preface out there. He has only gone over twice in his last 5 games, but I'm seeing a guy, he's only gotten 4 power play shots this year, which is crazy because he was leading the team last season, but 3 of those have come in the last 5. So I'm just, maybe I'm starting to think, okay, this guy has found that role again on the power play, maybe less facilitating like he was doing at the start, and start shooting again. And the Oilers let up a ton of shots to centers, ton of shots overall. And man, he just had their number last year. He even had him in the regular season too, 3 times. So I'm going to Kopitar plus 125. I found that price too good to ignore. It's not crazy, but he's getting solid 4 attempts every game. So he's involved, and these Edmonton games just typically are seeing, 70 total shots between the 2 teams. And I think that's going to happen again. So I'm going to Kopitar. I'm hoping if he could get 1 or 2 on the power play to really bring this play home, I'd be a happy guy around 11 p.m.
No. Yeah, I think that'll be a hell of a call. I like your points behind it. I'm not brave enough to make the jump. I'm gonna try to follow the power play volume with Fiala, but yeah, like you said, he stepped up in that series a lot last year. He's a veteran. He can really lead the team when he needs to, and maybe just having McDavid on the other side, a superstar. Maybe he's gonna try to step up and put on a little show. But I think this game presents a lot of opportunities. So I'm looking at, if you got bet 365, I didn't put it in to see the odds yet, but I was talking with Griffey, maybe McDavid and Kempe shots and then both of them to score. Or maybe Kempe a point if you want to play a little bit safer. McDavid's up at 1.5 points, but I think that might be something I take a shot on today as a longer shot one. I think that there should be shots in the game, power play opportunities, and those two guys I think can kind of go off of each other and have a nice little battle there.
Yeah, I like that. You've been hitting those more often than not lately, it seems. It's a great game to do it for sure. Yeah, McDavid shots looks awesome. Basically hitting four in every game at home too. Leading the team in power play shots. I thought about taking his shots straight at minus 145 and drinking that juice, but I'm just going to bet him to score at plus 104. I mean, he's scoring a lot of goals. He's the best player in hockey. I don't think I need to talk about why a McDavid goal would be a good bet tonight, but it's one I've got loaded up.
Yep, really like that spot. So yeah, that's the three games. If we can recap a little bit here. The best bets we covered. We both are liking Stutzel, his shots. That one's actually going to be our picket play of the day. We both locked that in immediately. That's our favorite one. Griffey's locked in a few more bets than I have, but I think I'm gonna lock in that Fiala shot angle, despite the road trends. I just think that tonight's a good opportunity for him, so I'll probably lock that one in too. Those are probably my best bets today.
Yeah, I like it. I'd say the three I'm most excited about are Stutzel, Kopitar, and McDavid goal. But it's a big plus money kind of Wednesday, which is exciting for sure. I do think Kachuk to get 5 shots is an awesome look. I would love like a third leg here. I'd love to do like a parlay of Kachuk 5, Carew 4, and then someone in this Edmonton game, maybe Draisaitl 5 or something. That could be a really nice
value
trail. We'll see when they open that up. But I think there's nice value out there in all the games. I would say maybe don't go crazy with a ton of goal score bets tonight because last night was so high scoring. Sometimes that tends to swing back the other way. But I mean, on paper, all these games offer some really nice prop value.
Yeah, I agree. I think that about covers it though. Think I'm just gonna leave it at the Stutzel picket play of the day. And then for me, I'm really grateful for the opportunity to be talking hockey. It was so much fun last season. So being offered the opportunity from Gold Boys has been awesome. And then Pickett for sponsoring it and putting making everything possible. So thanks again for that. And I'm just grateful you guys are tuning in. Saw some people last show, even on stuff that I maybe didn't officially pull the trigger on, they were hitting on stuff. So that's always my favorite part.
Sure.
I love posting plays and people coming along for the ride, but there's a little bit more of a rewarding sense when you're talking about the stats and stuff like that, and then people use that to come to their own conclusion and hit a really nice play. That's what it's always been about for me. It's just making everybody better with the information and really just having a good time together. I don't think it's a competition really. It's all about just having fun and hitting bets. So thanks for tuning in along with that.
Yeah, thank you to Pickett. Thank you, Gold Boys. It's fun to be back in the groove with you all. We're doing this every Monday, Wednesday now on, which is a great pace. I think those streams 6 times a week got a little exhausting sometimes last year. So I'm glad we can just put all our eggs into twice a week together. I don't know what the schedule's looking like next week with Thanksgiving on Thursday. I imagine there'll be games Wednesday. I don't know about you, but this has nothing to do with the show. I'm kind of looking forward to maybe Thanksgiving time, take a couple of days off to recharge, spend some time with family, drink and eat a lot of food, and maybe not sweat out some bets for a couple of days. I think would be wonderful.
Yeah, I say that, and then I never end up following my own advice, but got some time to think about it.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. This is Propping Up, brought to you by Pickett and Gold Boys. We will see you back Monday. Good luck tonight. Let's have some fun.